here, but let's welcome on our guest, John Whitson. God, I hope I'm saying that right. I hope it's not Whitson and I'm just butchering it. It is Whitson. He gives me the heads up. Yay. My Texas degree does come in handy here. Welcome to Chaos Theory, John. You are a part of an awesome podcast that really I just started checking out the other day, man, and it is called Boomer Bevo Pod, man. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, where we can follow you more on that? I mean, clearly on Twitter there, but any other socials that you have?
Absolutely, boys. It's fantastic to be on here. Thank you for getting us on. The Boomer Bevo Podcast was created by Kevin Miller and myself. He's a huge Texas fan. I'm a huge OU fan, OU grad. We work together. We've been talking about doing it for years and years. And we've been on now we did 75 episodes as of last night.
Wow.
And we talk OU Texas. This is like Christmas for us. Right. We're so excited. I just really appreciate you guys getting us on. I'm looking forward to talking about some OU Texas and breaking this thing down.
Absolutely, brother. But I mean, before we get into the steak and potatoes and the gridiron, man, like we got to talk a little bit about the pageantry, right? Like, just to give you a little bit of transparency, I'm an East Coast dude. I transplanted to Austin after the Marine Corps, and went to the University of Texas, graduated from the University of Texas myself, and really seen kind of, dare I say, mediocre football for the past decade now, man, or since my stint here in Austin and graduating. And I don't want to feel like it's me that's bringing the team down, but anyways, that's a long run of it, dude. It's been a great.
Are you saying you've got some PTSD that you're trying to overcome this week? That 49-0, you're saying 49-0, a win against Bama, that's not enough. You need another win against Oklahoma.
We got to keep it going, John. Yeah, we got to absolutely keep it going. The all gas, no brakes, like Sarkeesian likes to say. But as the dude, not being from Texas and Austin, I haven't been able to get up to the fairgrounds to taste the food or whatnot, or see all the other pageantry. What is your favorite thing on Saturday besides the battle that happens on the gridiron?
Red velvet beer. I had red velvet beer before the 2008.
Holy moly.
And it had a lot of sugar in it, and it was the worst hangover I ever had. Ooh. And the hangover kicked in about the time Jordan Shipley is running straight at me on a touchdown return. And it's like, is this Jordan Shipley's hangover, or is this the red velvet beer? I'm not sure. It was the best thing and the worst thing I've ever had in my life. And to see Jordan Shipley come straight at me, pretty much guaranteed I was never going to drink that crap again, right? It was fantastic. It tasted good going down, though. It tasted good going down.
Maybe it was a hallucinogenic. Well, as the reality shows, it was not hallucinogenic.
Wags, it was all too real. It was all too real. The C's part, I was in that. That was the first year for that new section where they had added kind of those upper end zone seats, and it was a really hot day. And we're up 14-3. We're rolling. This is Sam Bradford. This is DeMarco Murray. This is Jermaine Grisham. I mean, Gerald McCoy. We are loaded, right? Y'all are loaded. This is the most anticipated OU Texas game since, the early 2000s at the time. And to see the C's part for Jordan freaking Shipley was the worst feeling in the world. But yes, the pageantry is fantastic. The grass is greener. The crimson is crimsoner. The burnt orange makes me want to puke more than it does any other freaking week of the year. And I love every second of it.
Oh man,
I love the passion and the conviction for OU, because I can feel it in your bones, man, even though it makes me want to cringe and just puke, but I get it too.
Dude, listen, man, I grew up in San Antonio. Okay. So I went to San Antonio Taft. I was born in Lubbock. I have been surrounded by Texas my entire life up until my senior year of high school. And there were rough years in the 90s, right? When I was in high school. So yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal. I don't even know that we fielded a team for a couple of those years. But in any case, to be able to then go to the University of Oklahoma, be there when we win a national championship, be there for some of those big wins, it just makes it all the sweeter. But looking at this week, dude, this is the most anticipated game since 2008.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you. Is this matchup clearly one of the highest touted matchups coming into it since the middle aughts? And you just answered my question there. What makes this matchup so sexy? We have quarterbacks both quarterbacks on each side of the ball here that can sling it. And it looks like Ewers might be fleet of foot and Gabriel as well here, dude. Both these dudes can get it through the air, and they're not afraid to take the rock into their own hands and tote it. What do you like about this breakdown for your side of the ball?
Well, real quick though, on that one, Rodney scared me to death yesterday when I was listening into you guys. The Quinn Ewers run game is a new development. That's a new wrinkle.
It is, right.
And I don't like it, right? It's not a called play. I was talking to my co-host Kevin Miller, who breaks down, he's like, John, it's not a called play. It's his big concern about Quinn has always been that when he throws off balance, he doesn't throw well. When they get off schedule, he doesn't throw well. Well, now, instead of throwing off balance or putting himself in a bad position, dude, he's making the right decision to go run to open ground. That is a bad combination for Oklahoma's defense to have to now deal with that little wrinkle. So I'm concerned about that. However, on our side, you look at the statistics on if you took out Dylan Gabriel's name and Quinn Ewers' name, and you just looked at the statistics, 75% completion percentage versus 66, 1,600 yards versus 1,400 yards, 15 touchdowns versus 10 touchdowns, you would say Oklahoma has a ginormous advantage against Quinn Ewers. I mean, he's playing Dylan Gabriel, and listen, guys,
lights out, man.
There's a contingent of Oklahoma fan that can't stand Dylan Gabriel, right? That's how spoiled Oklahoma fan is that we look at these stats and say not good enough. Yeah. But this guy's playing great. And so I'm excited that he's our guy. The concern, though, is it's his first year. And we've seen quarterbacks go down on their first year and just puke down their leg.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Baker in 15, guys. I mean, how in the world does a 1-4 Texas team beat Baker Mayfield in 2015? We went to the playoffs with that team. Baker's a third. He was a fourth place Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, a Heisman Trophy candidate. And yet at the same time, he puked down his leg, played one of his worst games.
Well, and I think that's part of this game. You know, we were talking about the pageantry and just kind of the rivalry.
Level hype.
Yeah. You know, I mean, that happens, and you get a breakout star and all this stuff. I mean, you go back and chronicle this thing as far back as I have, and there's always someone that steps to the forefront and it's like, shit, where'd that dude come from? But I want to get your thoughts, John, with this OU team. I see the similarities there with what OU has had to do right here with Brent Venables, with Sarkisian. This has kind of been an overhaul right here. I mean, I know last year was what it was. And I know that Oklahoma's put that in the rearview mirror, and quite frankly, Texas needs to do that as well because that time has passed. But kind of what you're seeing right here. I mean, this seems like a program where he's putting his stamp on this. They're still questioning is he a head coach? I don't know if he is or not, but shit, they're 5-0 and coming into this game ranked.
Yeah, it's only second year. I mean, and so I mean, after the transition that he had in year one, you got to think there's going to be a little bit of a hiccup, but it looks like he's been able to right the ship.
Yeah.
So, guys, for Brent Venables, it all comes down to the defense. And last year, we did not have the horses to put out a defensive product at all. And so this year, you look at the competitive depth on defense, that's where we're starting to see the improvement. Is it going to be enough for Saturday? I don't know, but I feel a heck of a lot better than it was last year in terms of just dogs, right? Just dudes that can go out and ball, because we didn't have that last year. You start looking at our secondary, you got 5-star Peyton Bowen, who's not even starting, and that dude's making plays all over. Reggie Pearson, the transfer from Texas Tech, that's another body that we threw in there. Dason McCullough was the freshman of the year out of the Big Ten, who's a transfer. Those three guys alone in the secondary have made a ginormous impact. And it's that kind of – dude, I can't even remember the last time I said Oklahoma had a good secondary. Those words haven't come out of my mouth in 12 years. And so at this point, to say we have a good secondary, guys, it feels good. It feels really good.
Yeah, John, we also know that Venables likes to switch it up. He gives you a lot of multiple looks, man. Let's talk about that. What are some of the things that Ewers might be, kind of confused a little bit about seeing some of the disguised looks that OU likes to represent?
Well, I think it's going to be, y'all were talking about it right before I came on. A lot of it's going to depend on if Saunders plays or not, right? Mm-hmm. If Jatavion Saunders plays, we're going to have to play a lot more straight up. I don't think we can be as creative because that's just that's a lot of weapons, guys. I mean, between Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, Whittington, who's having a quiet year, but dude, that's the kind of dude that's going to break out in one of these games with all the attention on the other receivers. So if Sanders plays, I think you got to see McCullough heavy on pass coverage. If he doesn't, I think you could see McCullough dropping in on run protection. And I think that's where you kind of see the push and pull and how important it is to get your big tight end on the field. Kevin and I had a huge fight over, do I want to see Sanders going up against McCullough? And the answer is yes, I really do. I want to see good on good. I want to see Jatavian and Sanders play. That's who I want to beat y'all at your best.
Right.
And I think that McCullough gives us the best opportunity to kind of shut him down. But yeah, and you know what? We haven't even talked about Stutzman. This guy, listen,
dude,
as good as Jalen Ford is playing, 2 interceptions. Here's the deal. This is what I said yesterday. Jalen Ford and Danny Stutzman could end up being first-team All-Americans together. And they won't win Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year.
Right.
No,
it won't happen, I totally agree. Yeah, with those two guys. And I'm glad, John, that you mentioned the secondary, because we were talking about that earlier. I think that's going to be one of the early matchups right there to where Texas may try to test that secondary. I think that matchup right there, I mean, using the Texas wideouts and all that. And, of course, Sanders, that's one thing. It depends whether he's in there or not as a decoy or at 80% or whatever the case right there, man. But that secondary right there is going to test this offense of the Texas Longhorns.
So the one thing, and also, John, to piggyback off of that real quick, we're speaking with John Whitson here from the Boomer Bevo Podcast. Make sure you guys give them a follow on Twitter at Boomer Bevo Pod, please. Thank you so much. Big fans of theirs. So to piggyback off of what Rodney just said there, the secondary is tough, but where I've seen a little bit of holes so far has been in the middle of the field with the linebacking core, just a little bit in pass coverage, right? They struggled a little bit against Cincinnati. Mateer here, Mateer was the leading pass cat or the leading pass receiver during that game. I think 2 weeks ago or whatever, just in yardage and allowed explosive plays. Now it's been decent consistency through the middle of the field from Oklahoma, but there has been a little bit of holes where they can get attacked at. And I think if JT Sanders does play, man, it's going to be a big key component for the victory for the Longhorns to win on Saturday.
No, we gave up against Iowa State, who is just terrible, right? We gave up a 67-yard pass play in the first quarter and a 51-yard pass play at the beginning of the second quarter, right down the middle, right through our safeties. We had a safety run in the completely other direction. But however, the silver lining to that is with a 67-yard pass play and a 51 pass play included in this statistic, we held them to 202 passing yards. So we made the adjustments, right? Sure. But here's the problem. You can't give up 2 wide open passes to your wide receivers, right? We can't get in the hole like we did against Iowa State. We can recover against Iowa State. You're not recovering against Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, and those dudes. And then the problem is, though, here's, for me, the biggest concern as an Oklahoma fan. I'm really, really confident with our receivers. I'm really confident with Gabriel. It's y'all's running game versus our running game. It's such an advantage for you right now. And it's been a struggle all year. I think Tawee Walker, a walk-on, gives us the best opportunity to compete. He's the toughest runner, yards after contact, is leading our team by a large margin.
He's fantastic out of the backfield, too. He's great. He's got fantastic hands, especially on third down. And I think Major can carve people up as well, man. You talk about how, though the locker room, the running back locker room is going to be won by Texas here, but you got to talk about these backs from Oklahoma. They're deadly on third down. They've been very efficient, especially being, safety valves for Gabriel coming out of the backfield.
Well, and see, Marcus Major is one of those backs that has been around forever, right? He's an Oklahoma kid, and every single year, Oklahoma fan has wanted him to be good. Like, is this the year? Is this the year? Is this the year? It's either been injury or somebody just a little bit better or whatever the case may be. In this case, I still think it's injury. Javonte Barnes isn't 100%. Gavin Sawchuk hasn't been right since the spring. So this is Marcus Major's opportunity. He's wanted to play against Texas. He's wanted to be in this spotlight. Oklahoma fan will be stoked if he can show up on Saturday.
Well, and I think a lot of this also is, John, because if you're an Oklahoma fan, what you don't want is you don't want Dylan Gabriel shouldering the load on the ground. I mean, you can't do that against his defense because you need that dude upright. I mean, don't you agree? I mean, it's weird that there's not an Oklahoma back that you zero in on and be like, okay, this is going to be the guy. But it's just not there at this point, and that's part of the program, growing, with what Venables is doing at this point.
Dude, the problem is y'all got guys like Sweat, Murphy, Broughton, Hill Jr. I mean, you're loaded on the defensive line. If we don't stay committed to the run, see the hat. If we don't stay committed to the run, even if it's not effective, we have to keep you honest. Because if we let Hill Jr. get off
1,600 yards through the air, though, it's pretty damn good, though, John.
No, it is. But the only way we're getting that, right? So keep in mind that we got Jeff Lebby as our offensive coordinator, okay? Jeff Lebby is out of the Bryles tree. We remember Bryles was on there. Sure. We all got in trouble for Art Bryles being on the field a couple weeks ago, right? I mean, that's his father. That's the grandfather of his kids, in case you didn't pick up on that. So anyway, we've got the Lebby / Bryles offense is predicated on the play action. So we have to keep that run going, even if it's not effective. Now, you hope to break a couple, but we have to keep you honest to keep your defensive line at a little at bay, and 2, to open up the passing lanes down the field. So that's going to be the matchup, I think, is going to determine if we can effectively run the ball and consistently run the ball, then we have a chance to take advantage of it in the passing game.
When you say run the damn ball, do you think that maybe OU will come out and do a couple of 22, personnel, or come out maybe stick to a run and shoot with 11?
Oh no, they won't run it. They won't run the ball. That would be the dream. That would be the dream. That would be what every Oklahoma fan would want, is for us to line up and try to assert ourselves. But no, we won't. No. We'll stay in 11. And the other problem is not the problem, but I just love the way you guys use your tight end. We have Stogner. We were very excited to get Austin Stogner back. Yeah. He left with Spencer Rattler, and that was great. I mean, he was fine. Nobody was mad at him. He left with Spencer Rattler. Then he comes back, and we're like, oh, man, we've got a real, weapon here. Dude, I think he's averaged maybe one catch a week.
He's not targeted.
He's not targeted, so we're not getting that big body, that big presence. And but hey, when you've got receivers like Nick Anderson and Andrell Anthony, and don't forget, dude, y'all know Brendan Thompson. That dude can fly. He had 2 big catches, deep passes against Iowa State. The biggest problem is I don't know that Quinn Ewers has the arm to keep up with Brendan Thompson, right? I don't think he can outthrow Brendan Thompson, because that dude is fast.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about OU's wide receiver room, John. What do you guys like about them, and what do you think that they will do to shine on Saturday?
Andrell Anthony, the transfer from Michigan, he solidified himself as the number one. All summer, Kevin and I on the Boomer Bevo podcast we were wondering who's going to be the number one receiver. Is it Farouk? Is it Anthony? Who's it going to be? It's clearly Anthony. The guy, he's who DG looks for, and he's done a great job. Farouk, really solid. Stoops is that, to give a comparison to Texas, is the Jordan Shipley type player, right? The possession receiver, pick up the third down, make the tough catch over the middle. Stoops is really, really good at that. But you talked about it. I think it was you, Rodney, brought it up just a second ago. If we are to win, the breakout player will be Nick Anderson.
Nick Anderson, yeah.
His brother was Rodney Anderson, who broke out against y'all in 2017. The back half of the 2017 season, Rodney Anderson was the best running back in college football. He was fantastic the last 6 games of that game. If we would have run it on 4th and 1 against Georgia in the Rose Bowl in overtime, we win that game with Rodney Anderson. He was the best player on the field. He had 220 yards against Georgia's defense. He was fantastic. He goes on to break his leg 2 or 3 times. The poor guy, he just could never stay healthy. His brother, this is who this guy is. That's the genes he comes from. Guys, 5 touchdowns already. He's not starting. He's not a starting wide receiver, and the dude's got 5 touchdowns. He's big, he's long, he's rangy, he's fast, he's tough. This is the dude that has to have the breakout game.
10 receptions. 10 receptions. He's batting 50%. That's pretty damn good if you ask me. Right?
Well, yeah. He's got to have a CeeDee Lamb-like game, I think, to win. A 2019 CeeDee game, that might be a lot, but he needs to have that kind of game for Oklahoma to win. I think he can do it. I think he's got the physical tools. The problem is your secondary is not bad. Allowing 4 touchdowns, y'all got 6 interceptions. The coverage has created 13 sacks. That to me is a heck of a matchup. I give the slight edge to Oklahoma just on the numbers, but it's just like what y'all were saying earlier. Every one of these matchups, with maybe the exception of the OU running game, is really, really tight.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, what makes that secondary, play so healthy and play so great is the amount of pressure that Texas has been able to get with just sending minimal personnel, whether it be, 4 down linemen and then, dialing up, a blitz off the edge or a blitz up the gap and, up the A gap. Really haven't had to dial up too much pressure, right? They've been able to get it just from a solid front. If you're allowed to do that and, drop people back and take away passing lanes, it's going to be very especially on Saturday, it's going to be very tough for Gabriel to do so. That's why I think Major and Walker will be a key component for the victory, or for Oklahoma to win on Saturday if they are able to convert that on third down. I mean, we all know this, man. It's not coach speak. It's not cliche. Like, the battle is won in between in the trenches so that you don't get in like third and long situations, man. If you can do that, you're staying ahead of the chains, and you're usually going to win the damn game.
Yeah.
Well, you look at 2021, right? That I have to get that mentioned on it. I was waiting to mention this game, but you look at 2021. All the credit went to Caleb Williams and Marvin Mims, and rightfully so. Huge plays, dude. It was Rodney Anderson running for 222 yards.
Right.
I mean, not Rodney Anderson. I'm sorry, Kennedy Brooks running for 202. That's what kept us in that game. That's what moved the chains. That's what the walk-off touchdown was. It was the running game. We don't have that running game. Caleb Williams is, he's getting back there, and it's a nice story, but it's not the greatest comeback in the history of the rivalry, right? It was won in the trenches. It was run with the running game, and we kind of held Bijan in check, right?
Yeah.
And that was the thing.
Right.
I thought it was play selection, play call selection as well on our side of the ball.
Sark learned some lessons, I think, as a coach in that game. That was the first game that it's kind of like what we talked about with the players, right? The first coaching matchup for him in the Big 12 in the Cotton Bowl. It just feels different. You got to do different things. There's a different energy. The momentum gets you going one way or the other. But dude, Xavier Worthy, that guy was so good in that game. We went through 2 days ago. We did the best performances. I just remember sitting in that end zone and having Xavier Worthy running straight at me on the very first play of the game. Yeah. And he's so fast. He's so good. I think our secondary is vastly improved, even from where it was 2 years ago. But man, I can't unsee that. I can't unsee that talent, and it's keeping me up.
Yeah,
John. Right now, the line is 6.5 in favor to the Burnt Orange, and they're expecting an explosive performance from both squads with the over/under at 60.5. If you were a betting man and had to call your cousin here, what is the outcome that you think that you will see on Saturday?
Well, I think you take of course, with the homer pick, but I do think you take Oklahoma to cover. I think it's closer than a touchdown game.
I've been seeing 3 or 4.
Yeah,
depends on Sanders. Depends on Sanders, I think.
It does. A lot of it depends on Sanders. If both teams play well, or I guess conversely, if they both play bad, right, then I think you've got a really close game. If one team kind of decides to just fall asleep, which is really hard to do in this game,
right?
I think that you could see the point spread. The interesting thing about it is, as of last night, it was like 91% of the money was on Texas, and it makes sense, right? If I'm a casual bettor, it's week 6. I look at the book and I say, this say on Sunday when it was 5.5, I go, well, Texas beat Bama, and last time they played Oklahoma, they won 49-0. I think I'm going to bet Texas. To me, that's the logic that's the logic that's going into the line, right?
Yeah.
Moving.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, John. I want to ask you before we cut you loose, because kind of fan to fan. We were talking about this a while ago. Here we go. Texas OU. On our way out of the Big 12, all the disdain that the Big 12 has for both schools leaving. How great is it, a game of this magnitude on our way out the door? I think this is super cool right here for both schools.
Well, first of all, Ronnie, I think it's the first of 2. I think it's the first. I think we'll have an encore in December. I think we'll be in Jerry World together in December, regardless of what happens on Saturday. Not that I don't want to beat your brains in on Saturday, but I think we're going to have a rematch. Second of all, it's a glorious middle finger to the Big 12, who's treated us like crap over the last 2 years. I can't stand it. Both schools to make me feel sorry for Texas and the way y'all get calls just means that the Big 12 has done a masterful job of being absolutely horrible, right? I mean, this reminds me of the officiating.
You're being kind. You're being kind, John.
It reminds me of the officiating from Remember the Titans. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's that level of conspiracy we're dealing with here, and it's a joke. Now, Does that mean we're doing this in together? I don't think we're doing this together. I think that it's better for Oklahoma and it's better for Texas when we're both really good. I mean, look at this week. This is better than when Oklahoma's limping in at 3-2, right? For both you and me, it's better for our fans, for our schools. That doesn't mean we don't want to blow the brains out of each other. If I can beat y'all 77-0 like we did A&M back in the day, that's how bad I'd beat you. Like I want to destroy you,
sure.
and then destroy you again in December. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a hell of a game, and I absolutely cannot wait.
I love it, man. Hey, John, what's the Bevo Podcast got coming up?
So we're doing as much content as we can this week. We'll have our regular show tonight where we'll go through the rest of the games around the country, break down this game a little bit more, make our picks, that whole sort of thing. We're going to be running some specials on Thursday and Friday to get ready for the game, and then we'll have a post-game recap on Sunday. We don't normally keep that schedule. Typically, we're a 2-show a week schedule with previews on Wednesday and recaps on Sunday. But hey, man, it's OU Texas. Like, you got to bring it, right?
It's a whole different thing.
You got this is Christmas. This is Christmas, Halloween, the 4th of July. We're landing on the moon on Saturday. It's fantastic.
Ho, ho, ho.
And
no doubt about it, brother.
But check us out. Boomer Bevo Podcast, wherever you get your pods, YouTube, Spotify, Google, iTunes, whatever. Doesn't matter. We're there. Follow us on Twitter. Listen, Texas fan, you need to step up. So we're in Oklahoma. Kevin is surrounded by OU fans. His wife is a 2-time graduate at Oklahoma. He has to work with me every day, who's a graduate of Oklahoma. He's stuck in Moore and Norman, Oklahoma. He needs Texas fan support. This is a 2-tiered podcast. It's Oklahoma and Texas. So Texas fans, step up, start supporting your boy, give him some help because he needs it because he gets roasted every week by me.
I love it. It's John Whitson from the Boomer Bevo Podcast, man. Bringing the heat, man, as usual. Hopefully we can all bring the heat on Saturday because the sun's definitely going to do it up there in Dallas as well. Hey, brother, nothing but the best, man. Great stuff from you, John. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday, man.
Guys, y'all enjoy this Saturday. It's going to be great. Boomer.
Hook 'em.
Hook 'em. There he goes, man.
What it's all about right there, dude. That's what it's all
about. BK for lining that guy up for us too, man. It's been a little bit of a rough week for both sides of the ball here. Thank you so much, BK, for lining that up, man. That was a great guest and a fun conversation.